Good evening, cult members, and welcome to Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And welcome, Star Wars fans, to the finale that is going to have some people talking.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
This is going to be our spoiler review of Episode 8 of The Acolyte. As of recording this, there is no title for it yet.
It just says Episode 8.
It just says Episode 8 on Disney Plus, on IMDb, and then a quick search on Google. The first two pages had no title for it at all, so I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah. There's been a lot of discussion about this show. Some people have used this show as a platform to complain about not having a bunch of people of our complexion on the screen. And there are a lot of people have clickbait raged on this show to get more views or whatever. And we haven't been doing that. We've been really enjoying the show. And this is why. We got answers. Did we get all the answers? No. Did this show take a course different than a lot of other Star Wars storytelling has done? Yes. Did they make some wild swings at this show, both in storytelling purposes, writing purposes, and just lore purposes? Yes. And that is the basis of Star Wars. Star Wars has always been about trying something new. And not everything catches with everybody the same way. If you go back to 77, 75, when George wrote the Book of the Wills episode and said this is going to change. He didn't say he was going to change cinema. It changed cinema. It was a wild swing. And this was a wild swing of a show. And I really liked that they took this wild swing. I, however, love the Book of Boba Fett for the same exact reason. Because of the wild swing. Okay, so this episode we get Soul confessing to Osha and May and Chimere. We get an amazing fight with Osha and May.
And Soul and Chimere.
And an amazing fight with Soul and Chimere. Soul showing some deep level of Force knowledge with that Force explosion of Chimere and his lightsabers flying at him and stuff like that.
Yep.
We get some confirmation about who Chimere's master was. We get to see a Kyber crystal get bled. I didn't have that on my bingo card. We get a blatant lie. I want to say it that way because I know the internet's going to say. We got a blatant lie that Master Yoda is not going to be in this show. Liar, pants on fire.
It was the back of a Yoda.
It was Yoda.
Grogu.
It wasn't Grogu.
Yaddle
It wasn't Yaddle.
Race.
It was Yoda.
Person. Animal.
Thing. When she called, when Venestra was on Coruscant and called, I don't care where he is. I need to talk to him. I need to talk to him in person. I was like, I know who. There's one person who that could be. There's one person who that could be.
But there was some sleight of hand or whatever because of the senator and the issue that was going on there.
Yeah.
And so you kind of think maybe it's somebody from like with more pull than her on the council or something, but
Yeah. It was Yoda. And ampersand. I don't even know how to make an ampersand. Ampersand in the air. Pelagius. Pelagius was on the planet with Chimere and May. Osha. Sorry, with Osha. It doesn't say anywhere that it's him. It's him. And so from my point of view, this entire story has been about Chimere getting somebody to be by his side to fight against Pelagius.
Okay.
Now, we, as the audience, know that's not going to happen. That's not going to go the way that Chimere thinks it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I have deep thoughts about what season 2 could be. But I think for this episode, they gave us some nuggets of storytelling that they've been wanting everyone to see, and that most people who have complained on the internet have not allowed themselves to see it. And so in this episode, they sit there and just laid everything out in front of you and said, here's the scroll that you all have been wanting, because Star Wars fans want answers for everything right now. They can't let storytelling run out its course. Raise a Palpatine? What? Hi. I've been keeping that in for 3 days. Okay, so the episode starts with Osha wearing the helmet.
Yep.
And freaking out?
Well, she went into a trance or whatever, which is kind of what he said was going to happen. But she did what her mom could do, but she doesn't have the symbol. She didn't go through.
Right.
Like, I assumed that the reason why May started to go smoke when Mom went smoke in the last episode was because May had been through the trials or whatever it was that they called them.
The Ascension.
The Ascension, yeah. And Osha did not because they got interrupted. But then, I mean, Chimere's eyes were black, and he was in another place with her, just like the place that her mom and Torben were in. So she was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
She didn't, obviously know she could do it or how to control it because he was having a hard time getting her helmet back off. So.
And he did the whole Logan when Professor X is having the seizures in Logan, and he's the one who's only able to kind of slowly go over and stop it. Yeah. And he did the whole slowly going over and pulling the helmet off of her. And when the helmet came off, her eyes were red.
Yeah.
Which is not something that we've seen in the series yet. Everybody's eyes have gone black.
Right.
Blacked out. But she had a red tinge in it.
Made the Kyber crystal go red. So
right.
She is apparently a pretty big baddie.
Right. Chimere kept bringing it up, and Soul kept bringing it up, that Osha was the more powerful of her and May. And it kept feeling like a throwaway line, as in, I'm trying to manipulate you to do my thing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna sweet talk you or make you think you're awesome.
But she is more powerful than May.
And I like how in the end, we're kind of jumping around, but
welcome to one of our reviews.
I mean, it had happened already that they had switched outfits like 3 episodes ago or whatever, right? Yeah. But the two of them together coming into the courtyard right before Osha kills Soul, like she is looking like a Darth. Somebody
definitely had the Sith feel.
Yeah.
That when she put that robe on whatever the planet is that Chimere is on, when he left that clothing for her and she put it all on, I was like, there's some signaling there that she might go this way, but she kept doing the whole, no, I'm good, no, I'm good, no, I'm good, no, I'm good.
Yep.
It came out in this episode, finally, and this might be one of my critiques, is that they kept getting interrupted with Soul trying to tell the story of what really happened from his point of view and why he did what he did. When he finally confesses to Osha, actually he's confessing to May that I killed your mother. Yes, I killed your mother, and I didn't mean to, but he tries to say to Osha, I did it to protect you from whatever your mother was trying to do. I was doing the right thing. I was doing the right thing. I was doing the right thing. And she just kept telling him, shut up. Just stop talking. Stop talking. Stop talking. Stop
Right.
talking.
Well, because he did tell May, because that was what the whole last episode was.
Yeah.
He told May. May told Osha before they fought. Osha didn't believe her. So May goes back out in the courtyard and she sees May standing behind him. So she is trying to get him to say it again.
Right.
So that it's not just her telling Osha
Right.
what he said. It's him telling Osha, except he's telling May. But, I mean, you've seen it over the last couple, I mean, ever since the fight where everybody died except him and Osha and May. He's been sliding off the deep end.
Yeah.
And in this episode, it's just like he was gonna kill May, which is why Basil pulled the wiring out of the because he was targeting on her. He was gonna kill her. And that's not the Jedi way. I mean, you're not supposed to kill an unarmed person, and she's in this little runner. It has nothing. It has no light speed or anything. And then, he's just like, he keeps saying, I did it for you. This is just like classic, like, denial, in his mind.
Yeah.
And I think Vanestra even kind of says something to this effect, that he had painted this narrative of what was going on, what he saw. He had painted a narrative, and we, the two differences of her other mother. We don't have them.
Coral.
Coral
and Anastasia.
She walks out behind the tree, and it's a very cordial, hey, you two need to come home kind of conversation. But Soul recalls it or sees it as her coming out and you need to get home and grabbing him and everything from his point of view or in his mind was that they were being abused. But he wasn't seeing the whole picture. And so I think that as time went on, he maybe realized that he had misinterpreted things, or I don't know, but he had convinced himself that this is what happened and this is what he saw, and he was trying to convince everybody else, and everybody else was like, dude.
Right. And I think they kind of address that too, is that May talks about her failing because she couldn't get over the anger that she had, or Osha failed as a Jedi. Because she had this rage about what May had done. And it was what it was ultimately was that Soul was gaslighting her into, maybe not gaslighting is not the right word, but was convincing her that it was everybody else had done something bad when he was the one who did it.
Right.
And that was eating at him. So every time he tried to do something with her or for her, it just compounded the issue on top of itself over and over and over again.
I mean, I don't know that he did it
it was not intentionally.
But subconsciously, his mind was like, hey, this isn't what happened. And you can, I mean, it happens to people all the time where they convince themselves that something horrific or whatever didn't happen the way it happened, as a coping mechanism or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
And I think that's probably what it was for him, because he killed their mother for not really any reason.
Out of fear, which is not the Jedi way.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
fear, yeah. Or he thought she was, I don't know. He just ramped it up in his mind that she was gonna, like, kill the kids or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's just been eating at him slowly but surely over time. And now that the two of them are together, and things have kind of come to a head, that he's losing it.
Yep.
And then Kymir's not helping, because
No,
he killed
no.
everybody right in front of him, and so he's like, I've lost another Padawan.
Yeah, yeah. I also, he tried to say I love you. That's what I took until OSHA started to force choke him. But he like reached for her and said and then he couldn't talk anymore, and it came across to me that this misdirected emotion that he had for this little girl was so blinding for him that he wasn't able to allow himself to sit back for a second and say, Jedi don't love. They don't love because they possession.
Emotions cloud the mind,
And that's one of the things that Anakin talks about. Like, the Jedi should love, they should, but it's that being able to I love you, but I'm going to allow you to do your thing. And Soul never did that. Soul always had this possessive feelings for Osha.
Yeah.
From jump.
And I think that that's part of him just dealing with the fact that, like, he did all these
Yeah.
kind of terrible things, and he maybe thought he was doing the right thing, and then as it went along, he probably, at least subconsciously, realized he didn't do the right thing, and so now he's got to protect her because he lost May. Let May die, killed their mother, killed everybody in the whole coven, left them no place to go.
As a storytelling process, going back to the scene of the crime is a thing that happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I actually really appreciated for this particular show and this story that they told, that they went back to Brendok to go to have Soul specifically relive everything, and to have Osha and May live through everything, but from a kind of a new set of eyes for both of them.
Right.
It wasn't for Soul. It was trauma for Soul to run around the mind fortress thing, whatever was there. But for Osha and May, I think it was much more, I'm older. I have a better understanding what's going on, especially after they have the Osha and May have the fight.
Yeah.
And just that kind of, like, even when they went to escape, and May was leading her out of the facility, and Osha's like, "You did this as a little girl," like there was this like fresh perspective on everything that has been going on.
Yeah, because Osha's just full of hate for her sister, that she did all this stuff, and now she's kind of, there was more than just you lighting this fire, which is all she could think about. You lit this fire and killed everybody.
The not variant, that's a comic thing.
Virgins.
The Virgins on Brendok created two of the same person. and that was.
I think it created one, and the witches split it into two.
I'm okay with that. But the way the way Soul said it is that you two aren't twins. You're the same person.
Right. And so the variants created an Anakin, and the witches went, well, we need two for whatever reason.
Right. Twice the opportunity for the coven to live on.
Well, but they say
the power of one, the power of two,
yeah,
the power of many. Yeah.
So two is better than one.
Yeah.
Two is the next, and that's how they build the Force and everything. So logically it makes sense that they would be like, we don't want one, we want two.
Yeah.
And then we're all the many, and that's what I'm going with. They split them.
From when they kind of started laying that idea out that the witches decided that the number, specifically because we're dealing with the Sith story and the rule of two makes a lot of sense, like storytelling wise.
Yeah.
But the what was the idea that Soul wanted the two of them together to go back to the Jedi Council to talk about the variant, the Virgins, to prove that he was right.
When he only had Osha, he had to have both of them.
In that he wanted to prove that there was this thing here on Brendog.
Yeah,
and that also clouded his judgment. As he went along.
It's like, move on, dude.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's been
16 years.
16 years. I was gonna say 20. Move on. Nobody. Obviously, the Jedi have bigger fish to fry because it looks like they're about to start the kind of
Oversight committee.
Yeah, the oversight committee. Yeah.
So it was the first thing I thought of when they started bringing it up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about Vernestra and the oversight committee and kind of where that is all leading. So, Vernestra Rwoh, as we know her in the High Republic, is a wonder kid, 16-year-old Jedi Knight. By the time we're in phase 3, she's 17, 18 years old. She's 100 and something years old at this point in time. Her race lives that long, so it's not a big stretch. She's a very different person from where we know her from.
Yeah.
The fact that people were complaining about Ki-Adi-Mundi in the prequels, saying there hasn't been a Sith in a millennia, and there's no way there could be a Sith, and everybody's like episode 2 was all like, well, they just came across the Sith, and how do they not know, and blah 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 blah. It's because Vernestra hit it.
Right, and we see her actually do that.
Yeah. And I think people in the first couple of episodes were wondering why we didn't get Yoda in that role of Vernestra and telling that story. And this is why. We needed somebody who had clout at the High Council or in the Small Council to be able to deal with the senators, who had respect by all the other knights because of their age and experience and everything else, but also is not somebody that we're all married to because of the original trilogy and the prequels and stuff like that. If they
had made Yoda, I mean,
it changes Yoda's complete story.
Oh yeah.
If they did that to Yoda.
Oh yeah. Because, I mean, I get why she did it, because of all the things that are going on, and that they're being looked at, through a microscope, and this would be, the beginning of the end or the middle of the end.
Yep.
It's not a great thing. I mean, she's ultimately rewritten history.
Yep.
And 100 years from now, they're all going to be blindsided by Sith.
Yep.
But, You're dead, so you don't care.
And
Global warming, everyone.
yeah, right. I want to say something political. I'm going to try not to be political in the real world. We'll talk about politics in the Star Wars. But it is it's she is doing the same thing that Soul did by having what Soul and Dara and Torben and Kalnaka did in the last episode by hiding it. Hiding the attack and hiding everything. Now she is doing the same exact thing. She's doing the same cycle again.
Right.
And she's not doing it out of malice. She's trying to protect her order. She's trying to protect her family.
Right. And it proves that, I won't say everybody, most people do the wrong thing for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And there's two people
Yep.
back to back that did that.
Yep.
And everybody's the hero of their own story, right? So even if you are the villain, you're the hero. So yeah, they think they're doing the right thing.
And one of the reasons I've loved this series so much and why, especially upon a rewatch when we go back and kind of, okay, they laid this out here, they laid this out here, kind of thing, whatever. That is my number one favorite story trope, is a good person doing terrible wrong things for the right reasons.
Yeah. Because people do that
Yep.
all the time.
Yep. But it also shows the fallibility of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And especially at this point in time where they're supposed to be a time of peace. That's why they all got smoked in that fight with Chimera, because he didn't fight the way they're supposed to fight.
Right.
They're more delegates than they are anything else. The senator pointing out that you're not a religion, you're a military force
That can't fight.
but can't fight. Well, we'll get to there. But just this laying out these little breadcrumbs of everything that sets us up to when we get to the prequels, until we get to the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And just this idea that the Jedi are this high and mighty and thing, and everybody at this time period is going to, excuse me, it's going to be doing everything they can to keep that status because they have this air of invulnerability.
Right.
I'm not going to give any spoilers away for House of the Dragon, but they did the same kind of storytelling idea of presenting a thing that takes away the power of the thing. And the Jedi are trying to stop that from happening. And it's just compounding on top of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That ultimately is just going to be bad. Now, we have to talk about... We don't know who Chimera ultimately is.
Right.
But he was Vanestra's apprentice.
Right.
Or Padawan.
Padawan, yes. Which is my theory several episodes ago.
Right. As soon as it happened, she's over there pointing at me, I'm pointing at her, and stuff like that. So in the comics, the High Republic comics, there is a character that is Vanestra's Padawan. His name is Imri Kataros?
Imri Canteros.
Canteros. There we go. Canteros. He is human. He is presented in the artwork with blonde hair. But he, during the Starlight Beacon disaster, is feared lost. And Vanestra assumes that he is dead.
And she specifically said, when they got off the ship, and she felt him, she said, I thought you were dead, or something like that.
And then he put his Magneto helmet back on.
Right. Block out your thoughts.
And then he kind of creeped on her a little bit while she talked over Soul's body.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to the tree scene in a second. We'll probably go there next. But this idea that it could be Emir, Emiri. I-M-I-R-I. So I'm
Imri.
Emery. I said it right the first time, and now my brain's like, how do we say it now? This idea that could be Emery because he did say when OSHA was asking him, like, I've never heard of you.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it was a very long time ago.
Yeah.
So, and if it is actually Polybius, there's so many different names. If it's Darth Pelagius, he knows the path to long life and immortality, which is why Sidious kills him. But just like, it's a possibility. They didn't come out and say this is who it is.
Right.
But I love that idea that he was her first real Padawan. He was Padawan to somebody else, and then it didn't go well, and so she stepped up to take care of him, and she was 16, so it may not be like 16 and he was like 10 or 11 when it all happened. So it would make
and it could definitely be if he was something happened to him in the battle and he was lost, and now he holds that against her that she didn't come find him.
I'm trying to remember if he said something about being thrown away. Like an episode, like when he was Chimere and not Darth Teeth. Darth Teeth.
Maybe?
It sounds like he said something like Jedi will throw you away.
Yeah.
This is why I want to do a rewatch.
I know what it feels like to be thrown away.
Yeah.
Again, House of the Dragon, and they all start to kind
of
go together.
But I love Venestra as a character in the High Republic publishing stuff. And I'm glad that they presented her this way. Now we have 100 years of storytelling still with her if we want to do in that little gap. It's not like we haven't done that in Star Wars ever before, where we went back and filled in the gaps.
Right.
But how did we get from her wide-eyed, ready to be, this person, this wonder kid, to this kind of stern, unlikable at times person?
Yeah.
And I
mean, 100 years will do it to you.
Oh yeah. And she's lost, everybody. So
yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the tree scene. Earlier when Osha and Chimere left to go to Brindok, they had a conversation on the walkover. I love walk and talk conversations. So on the way over, Chimere asked her to train her, and she said no twice.
Yep.
And one of the things that she said in that conversation was, "I am not your sister. I am not my sister." And he said, "No, you're not." She instantly agreed, and she didn't. So now, after she kills Force Choke's soul, after showing that she's had no Force abilities the entire way, she taps into that hate and that passion that Chimere was talking about in episode 6, which I love that scene so freaking much. I keep thinking about it. When they get to the tree, she agrees to go with Chimere for training to save May, and Chimere can erase her memory of Chimere and Osha.
So did she ever say specifically, "I will go with you for training"?
No, she said, "I will go with you."
I will go with you.
Yes.
And so I feel like she got some information downloaded while she was in the helmet. And when he says, "Will you come train with me?" and she says no, and then he says, "You're not, I'm not my sister." I think she already knew, because she said that she saw what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think she kind of maybe already knew, like, she's stronger than him.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to go with you so you can train me. I'll go with you so I can train you. or
Or
we're gonna go be a badass power couple.
I was just gonna sing that Chimera and Osha sitting in a tree, sitting in a forest cave, Kaisitt.
Yeah. So like she's telling him, no, I'm not gonna be your, Padawan. We're gonna go be equals together.
Yeah, and that's the Sith way. The Sith way is the apprentice always kills the master in a quest to be the master, and they set it up. They didn't say it like you're talking about. They didn't come out and like just say it.
Yeah.
But she is going to be the ultimate person who kills Chimera. Or Pelagius does it. It kills them both because they both tried to kill him. Like this is why just having him show up there just doesn't throw a wrench in everything. It just opens up the idea, the possibility of all these different things that be going forward. So you could have them as a couple. You could have them as master and apprentice. They could have a apprentice and an acolyte trying to go after the master.
Yeah. So do we know how Pelagius dies? I mean, is that already?
Sidious kills him, but there's no official whatever.
And then Sidious is
Palpatine.
He is Palpatine.
He is Palpatine.
Okay, so basically, Palpy kills him. So then we're there.
We're about 100 years from the show to Phantom Menace.
Right. So that could be halfway point or whatever.
Yeah. And Palpatine is 40s, 50s by the time he's become senator of Naboo, and then Emperor shortly there, or Grand Chancellor shortly thereafter.
Okay, so then it's closer to.
It's much closer. There's a 40 minute window in there to get your Starbucks picked up. There's about a 40-minute. I did it again. 40 year, not hour. That was almost the next word out of my mouth. Gap in there where, okay, these two are going to try to do something. It's not going to work, and then he's going to go find somebody who is powerful, and it ends up being Palpatine.
Right. Yeah.
So, fun question. Completely no justification, no hints, no whatever. Is the planet that is not named where they're at? Is it the name just left me. Padme's home planet. Naboo. Is it Naboo? It's a water planet. There's rocky coasts.
Maybe.
It'd be very interesting if that's what happens. It would be very interesting if that's what happens, and then they end of season 3, if we get a season 3, is Palpatine killing a young Palpatine, finding them and killing.
I don't expect them to go that far.
I don't either, but maybe in the book or a comic or something like that.
Yeah,
that's how they get
or they
there.
could pick it up in something else or do a movie or whatever. But I expect them to keep this pretty compact.
Yeah.
In this, maybe
5-year window at the most. Yeah. I loved them, Osha and May going back and forth with their little poem that they do back and forth as May started losing her memories and stuff.
Yeah.
And then then Basil and the Jedi all show up, and then Chimera and Osha have left, and May is there, and the May and Vanestra conversation. Vanestra telling her, poor child, you've been gotten the wrong end of the stick from the Jedi the entire way. I'm going to make it better. Let me tell you what really happened. Her only memories is the fire and going to tell of her childhood and stuff like that. So I'm very interested if they continue on with this story, having that kind of conversation with May on Coruscant, trying to help her get her memories back. That's how they go find.
I don't think they want her to. I mean, Vanestra doesn't want her to, because that's the whole that's the whole reason that
That's
she was
true.
able to tell the story she told, because there is now no one except these two fugitives who know what happened.
Yeah.
So I could say whatever I want.
Yeah.
And so I don't think Vanestra's going to want her memory to come back.
Yeah. She's gonna take care of her and put her in a good place, but not really try to help her get her memories back. Yeah. Ultimately, I think that's what it's called. There's a couple other things I want to talk about with this episode. We've gone as long as the episode almost. The choreography of the fight between Soul and Chimere is just the choreography, fight choreography in this entire series has been amazing.
Yeah.
But this was bright in the sunlight,
Yeah.
wire work,
Yeah.
kung fu. Like they threw everything in there, and
Yep.
I was just like, nom, 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 nom. Like I want all of that. I rewatched the training video, that Chimere, the guy who's playing Chimere, his name is not helping me any right now, and IMDb is. I rewatched his training video again today because it's just so cool because he did all of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't watch Good Place, so I don't know. Like I don't know him from anything.
Yeah.
But just being able to do that was just amazing. And then the fight choreography with Amanda Stenberg being both Osha and May in that fight, and the editing. Because you get to see both of their faces, and just the special effects of making sure that both of them are in the scene together.
Yeah.
You get to see their faces.
Yeah.
And of course, the two of them are the same person, had the same training.
And so they're doing the exact same moves.
Exact same moves. All they knew every counter. And I giggled because we've talked about this in the past. We're part of a medieval reenactment group. Coming up through the ranks as I was learning how to fight, 3 or 4 of the guys that I fought with as we came up all learned from the same group of people. So on a regular basis, we would all hit each other with the same exact shot at the same exact time. And so that's why I was giggling during that whole fight. I was just like, oh, that's awesome. The editing about just everything they do with twins on screen is just awesome. The ship fight in the asteroid belt of the ring around the other planet next to Brindok.
I think it was actually like ice. I don't think it was asteroids.
Ice, rocks, or smallish rocks.
Yeah, because it was, I mean, there were bigger rocks and they weren't doing anything. Because I was watching this going, the internet's going to lose their mind because there's no way that these ships would go through this. They would be torn apart. And so I paid attention, and it really appeared like ice.
I'm totally okay with that. Like they come out and say, yeah, it's ice. And Neil deGrasse Tyson's like, yeah, you can do that through ice. And then, okay, done. The conversation's over.
Yeah,
Everybody can shut up.
Isn't one of our planets got an ice ring?
Jupiter's got Saturn's got a ring around it, but I think it's a destroyed planet or destroyed moon. So it's actually rocks and ice and it's everything. And aliens. And then when Soul breaks Chimere's lightsaber, he steps back and you can actually see the red kyber crystal. And when they did it, I was like, oh, they showed the kyber crystal. That's interesting. And then when Osha is force choking Soul, they take the lens and they look down the lightsaber to the kyber crystal, and you watch the blue kyber crystal bleed into red. And then she finally kills him, and then Chimere kind of goes at her, like steps up to her, and she lights the lightsaber, and it's blue, and then fades into red. We've never seen that on screen before, and I thought that was just a really, really, really good way of doing it, because everybody has talked about what it means to bleed a kyber crystal. It's a big deal in Star Wars, and they've talked about it in the publishing part, but they've never really showed it. And this idea that she killed out of anger and revenge is what made the kyber crystal bleed, change. It wasn't her. It wasn't her swinging It wasn't her swinging the sword. It was her emotions who changed it.
Right.
And I thought that was a very interesting way of showing that. Now we did get a kind of a bleeding of a kyber crystal in the Tales of the Jedi when Dooku kills Yaddle, but they don't show the actual transition. It just his blade's one color, and then the next scene it's red. Ultimately, I think this show is amazingly done, and shot well. I could have done a little bit more. I could have been a little bit better. I think it could have been received a lot better if they have done a little bit more traditional storytelling. But I think that's why this show works so well, is they did a untraditional kind of storytelling,
Right.
out of order,
Right.
back and forth, leave the mystery to the last episode kind of thing. I think that ultimately is the thing. Leslie Headland said she has an idea. She has a layout for next season. There's been nothing official that has been dropped. We've talked about this in the past. It's has gotten better better numbers than Ahsoka and Kenobi.
Right. Yep.
And so I think it's very possible that they could do another one. And D23's in August.
Yep.
Just saying. Anything else you want to bring up that we can?
No.
I mean, we went 45 minutes, and I think we scratched the surface.
Right.
We really appreciate everybody who stuck around this long for this episode, but also with each of these episodes, even with all the bull that's been going on online about it, and my little rants about it back and forth. We really, really appreciate it. We're going to continue to do episode breakdowns of House of the Dragon, and we're going to do once The Boys gets done, we're going to do a episode on The Boys, and then we've got stuff coming in the fall, so we'll be doing stuff on the podcast feed, so please like us there. Also on the YouTube channel, we're doing movie reviews and trailer reactions. We're going to see Twisters tomorrow. We're going to see that Deadpool and Wolverine little movie that's going to be out next week.
I heard it's a romance.
I heard it's a bromance. So please like this video, subscribe to the channel, because it helps us out. It's totally free. It means nothing for you and everything for us. So please do all of that. And then follow us on the social media stuff, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Links in the description down below. We really appreciate everybody being around for these reviews. And until next time, cult members, for light and life.